Welcome to DADAcation. Today we have a special guest here, Monica. Monica, how you doing?
I'm doing amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out to do this podcast. It's truly amazing. I love these conversations.
Absolutely.
Today we're gonna talk a little bit about what you do, and we're just gonna have a deep conversation. And this is what it's all about.
Bring it.
So this is DADAcation. You know what we do here with DADAcation. It's a nonprofit organization, and it's about normalizing fatherhood. But it's deeper than that. You know, It deals with like the children, how to uplift these children that are going through certain traumas. Right. But a little bit about yourself. What do you do?
So a little bit about myself. I actually. I'm a mom. I have a 6-year-old son, and I'm actually in the credit field. So I help people with, credit issues. I teach financial literacy, and then I actually just started a 12-week series on healing, and so that's very exciting to me. And so thank you for inviting me on. I'm excited about what you have going on because it's so powerful that people can know the organicness of like help that's needed. You know what I'm saying? And so that's just a little bit about me. So thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that healing, the 12-week healing process that you started. What exactly is that? Can you let the people know?
Sure. So, so obviously I'm always talking about credit. I'm always talking about like financial literacy. I'm always trying to give advice on like different things that are in that realm. But I personally feel like that's not like my original calling. I feel like because of things that I've been through, my experiences as a child, leading into my adult life, I feel like there's been things that have affected me, and I feel like these were things that I needed to talk about. For example, I have a 6-year-old son, and I went through a divorce. And a lot of people are like, how are you always hustling? Like, how are you, a single mom? Like, where's the dad at? People are always asking me these questions. And I feel like no one really knew who really Monica was. They just knew me as like a credit person, right? Or a financial literacy person. And so I felt like my true calling is to bring healing to people, to talk about the organicness of things that the communities don't talk about. You know what I'm saying? Because it's frowned upon to speak, about true stuff. And I feel like in today's day and age, like as of today, I feel like people are more open to, learning about, different areas in their lives where they can work on. And so I feel like if we can all work on ourselves, if we can all find healing somewhere along the lines, we will be, better parents, we'll do better in business. And there will just be so much more love in the world. And I feel like at the end of the day, love surpasses everything.
That's deep. You talked about finding the healing and everything else will fall into place pretty much. Mm-hmm. That's deep because a lot of people don't like to talk about that, but especially too, I'm gonna get a lot of backlash for this, but a lot of mothers that are single parents, I think they don't talk about that a lot as well. And I feel like it's something that needs to be said. Like in one of my other podcast episodes, it was deep conversation, was with Gabby. And we talked about the entitlement of a lot of like mothers and stuff like that, and always being the superior, but not taking a step back to heal and go through the healing process to make even a co-parenting relationship better. So I adore the whole healing process thing that you're going on. And it was explained perfectly. So with my episodes, I like to ask a series of questions that could tap in just to get to know who you are and just to help other people that don't like to have these conversations. This is why DADAcation is always about conversations. What was your experience throughout life with, let's just say, like your father?
Sure. So I actually spoke about this on one of the series, well, my first series, but growing up, I actually, I had a good upbringing. So my father was in my life up until the age of 3. So when I was 3 years old, my father actually, you know, he was on drugs, he was an alcoholic. He actually stabbed my mother in front of me and my sister. And it was very dramatic, and it was, you know, at the time, obviously I'm so little, I don't understand like the effects that it's gonna have on me as an adult, right? And so seeing that bloody scene, seeing that violence, feeling that type of tension or that PTSD, right, from that whole experience, I didn't know it was gonna trigger me, or it was going to put me in relationships that were abusive throughout, you know, my teenage years to, you know, just recently. So for me, my childhood was, you know, at the age of 3, like you're supposed to be playing, you're supposed to be enjoying, you're supposed to be, you know what I'm saying, enjoying that child, that inner child, right? You're not supposed to have witnessed what I witnessed, what me and my sister witnessed. So that happened. Obviously, he went to jail. My mom was fine. She survived. Everything was fine. She ended up raising us. So I was raised by a single mom. And like I said, you know, we had a pretty good upbringing. However, we did live in, you know, a few shelter homes, and we had to work in the flea market. So my mom taught me at a young age how to be a hustler, right? How to sell candies and all these different things. So leading up into my relationships, one of my first relationships actually was a very abusive relationship, like physically abusive. And I questioned myself a lot. I was like, okay, why am I in this relationship? Or how did I even attract this relationship? And when I started studying and I started trying to like work on like different ways of healing myself, I realized that's what I was used to because I seen it as a child. And that's why now I feel like a child's foundation is so important, right? Because that's going to dictate their choices that they make as an adult. So it's a little bit about like my background, but I got into that relationship. It was physically abusive. I was pregnant, and he punched me in my stomach, and I actually lost my baby. And that for me was like one of the biggest moments of my life, because that's when I started drinking. I started drinking alcohol to mask my pain. And it, you know, people have different vices. People, you know, maybe smoking, it might be food, it might be sex, right? Like I hear a lot of people turn to sex because they didn't have that father figure in their life. So they find different type of vices. But I say that that was a pivotal moment for me because I was becoming this alcoholic, and I was turning into my father, who was an alcoholic / drug addict. And now I'm losing myself. Like I'm totally lost. I'm like, I'm mentally not there. I'm like emotionally not there. Like graphic, but we're being transparent here. When I got punched in the stomach and I lost my baby, I wiped myself in the bathroom and my baby was in my hand. Like to visually see that, like that is trauma.
Yeah.
Sorry, raw and uncut, but very much so trauma. So, you know, that was like, you know, from my childhood all the way up until, you know, my 20s. And then he ends up going to prison. So I couldn't let him go because it was such a toxic relationship that I was so used to toxicity, I didn't know how to let it go. And so God had to take him out of my life so that I could be free. And he ends up going to prison for murder. So if God didn't remove me out of that relationship, who would have known, right? The girl that he was cheating on me with, that he didn't want me to have the baby, right? Because he was cheating on me with another girl. She ends up having to pick him up from the scene, the crime scene, because he got shot. They end up tracing the bullet back. She ends up having to testify against him. So she's testifying against somebody. That person could have been me. If God didn't take that person out of my life, like real talk, that would have been me testifying against the person that I love, the person that was toxic towards me. And it just blows my mind, because I'm like, God is so good that he will always cover you. He will always protect you. And as a little girl, like, I never felt protected because I didn't have my dad there. My mom was this strong, she had to be strong for us because nobody else would have been that person for us. So that was a lot, but
wow.
That's a little bit about like my childhood and my background.
Do you mind asking, like, what was your ex at the time relationship with his father?
He didn't have one, really. He didn't have one. Well, he knew his father, but I think his mother cheated on the father, and the father somehow was kind of like in and out of his life. But the mom, I kind of feel like she was doing her own thing. She wasn't really focused on raising them.
Paying attention.
Mm-hmm. So they kind of raised themselves. Him and his brother basically raised themselves, and they were around drugs. They were around, the hood, like, yeah. So I don't really feel like his dad was present in his life.
So you see the disconnect there, like, with this, all of that, like you just said to me, and just asking those. I literally just asked you one question for each thing.
And I just threw up on you.
No, but
it's
like I literally just asked you one question, and it just kept, the question was consistent, and it was if that person had a father in their life, that person had the father in life.
Right.
But it just shows you how much a father figure,
so important,
what a father figure can do.
So important.
And why it's overlooked. So, this is why I'm trying to normalize that.
Absolutely.
Because a father can actually change those things, right? So if you have a father in your life, at that young age, especially a daughter would know what true love looks like.
Right.
What to look for in a man. Right. Just those little things. And then for a father in a male's life, it's just like, okay, you know what's right and you know what's wrong.
Right.
Not to put your hand on women, or just different things like that. And just having that life lesson.
Totally. So important.
And I always say this, I don't know if you can attest to this, is just that yes, you can be a single mother, but there's things that a mother can't do that a father is there, and then vice versa.
Absolutely.
Like things that father do that a mother needs a mother. So that's why both parents are, important. So what is your relationship, let's say, with your father now? Have you forgave? Like, what's going on?
Sure. So, the last time I seen my dad was when I was 3 years old, and up until recently, but I actually applied for a college loan when I was applying for college, because I wanted to go and get my degree in business. And because he was a veteran, I was like, I can get free school. So I applied for a VA loan for school. They actually reached out to him to confirm that I was his child. They found the address, obviously, of what I put on the application, and he got a hold of that. So when I was 26 years, so from the age of 3 years old to 26 years old, I had never talked to my dad. When I was 20, I'm 35 now. So I met my dad when I was 26 years old. And when I say meet, because I didn't really know him, right? 26 years old, I get a letter in the mail, and it's from my dad. And he's like, I hope this reaches you guys. I hope you're doing well. Like, he completely apologized. He was like, I love you. I've been so lost. I've been on drugs all these years because I'm blaming myself for what I did to your mother. And he wrote his phone number on there. So I'm like, where's the phone? Like, I'm about to call him, because I knew there was a piece of me that was missing. There was a piece of me that needed some type of healing. And I knew it was that father healing. I was like, as long as I've been going to church, as long as I've been praying, I feel like God has been my father through it all, but I still felt like I was missing something. So I call him, and the number was disconnected. So I was like, dang. But I was like, I'm gonna try to call again, and it was still disconnected. So I actually wrote him back, and then I put my phone number on there. The letter got to him. He calls me one day, and I don't even know where I was. I don't even remember where I was at when he called. But long story short, we ended up talking, and he was like, I'd love to see you guys. And I was like, tell me when. We'll drive down to LA because we're in the Bay Area. And we literally went to go see him. So it was my sister, my mother, myself, and my mother's husband. We all hopped in the car. We drove down to LA and we met him. And it was so emotional, but it was so beautiful at the same time because my dad, he's funny. I see a lot of myself in him. Like, he has a lot of character. Like, he's just, you could tell he's super humble. Like, he don't judge. Like, if he has money, you could tell like he'll, shoot some money out to homeless people. So like the character that I seen, I was like, that's a good man. I was like, unfortunately, but fortunately, I was trying to like rebuild something that I never had with him, starting from that moment. So from age of 26 to currently, I've had a relationship with him on and off because, he'll get on drugs, he'll lose his phone. But as of like a couple years ago, he got really sick. And so he kind of stopped with the drugs. And I remember like a nurse called me and was basically like, hey, your dad only has 10% of his liver left, liver working at this point. And so that part was kind of emotional to me because I feel like I was just meeting him, right? I was just getting to know him. But I was like, I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna, whenever he's like, come down to see me, because he wasn't mobile, because he was, in a wheelchair. But I was like, whenever I can see him, I'm gonna go see him. And so he's still alive, but right now he's not doing too well. And he actually had a hip replacement, and then he had a hip replacement about a month ago, and he caught 3 staph infections. And 2 of them, I guess, got healed. The other one, which is MRSA, I don't know if you know what MRSA is, it's still there. And so just a couple days ago, I talked to him actually, and he's scared. And so I haven't really lost, like, I haven't really had anyone die that's been really close to me like that. And so I personally feel like sorry, I don't even want to get emotional, but I might get emotional, but I feel like there's a part of me that's like scared for him, but to hear him say he's scared after all the like long life, hard life that he's lived, it's kind of hard to see. So I don't know, how long he has left to live, but that's kind of where we're at.
Wow, that's deep. What would you say that you have missed from the ages of 3 to 26 that you wish that you could have had with him? Like, some people, you go to school, and everybody's just with their dads, or their dads and their moms are bringing them to like soccer and stuff like that. What are things that to you that you wish you would have had that you would want for, well, let me ask you this question first. What is your current relationship with the father of your son?
So, currently, as of today, I'm very excited to say that like we're cordial, and I'm just so grateful for that. But it literally just happened like a couple weeks ago that we became cordial. So, got a divorce about 3 years ago with him. He didn't speak to me at all. Like, when I say speak, like, he would never say hi to me in front of my son. He wouldn't even, like, if I would say, hi, how are you doing? He wouldn't even respond back. I would text him. I would call him sometimes just to, communicate. Nothing. So he's been so angry. he was so angry towards me for the divorce. And it's always interesting to me that he was the one that wanted the divorce, but yet he was the one that was so hateful towards me once I gave him the divorce, right? Because I'm a fighter. And I feel like I grew up in a broken home. So for me, I was like, I don't want that. Like, I fought for my marriage. I was like, we're going to church. We're going to a pastor. If this pastor don't work out and this counseling don't work out, we're going to go here. So I think it hurt me so much as well that I had a lot of guilt. I had a lot of shame because I did, I ended up giving him what he wanted versus trying to like stay there for years and just maybe hope it can work. I mean, I don't even know. Like, everything happened the way it was supposed to. But I say all that to say that for 3 years, him not speaking to me, him calling the cops on me if I was 5 minutes late. Or if Caleb didn't have a jacket, he would call the cops on me. Just petty stuff, just to kind of eat at me and get under my skin. And it worked, right? Because it was somebody that I loved. It was somebody that like I married, right? And to me, I was like, marriage is a very, very beautiful thing that you have to fight for, right? So recently, him and his fiance broke up. And it took for that to happen. Well, okay, so that whole scenario happened. And ever since they broke up, he's been in communication with me. Because I'm like, hey, Caleb has a jiu-jitsu tournament. Would you like to come? Like, I'm always inviting him to be a part of his son's life because I know how important it is. It's so important, And I think it's eaten me up as well too, to know that like Caleb is, grown up for, all basically his 6 years, almost 7 years in turmoil. Whether it was him watching me and his dad fight or the divorce and being in 2 different households and like his dad calling me all type of bitches and, excuse my language, all these different type of things. Like, he's hearing this stuff.
Right.
So I would try to be the parent that would be like, hey, daddy's coming. Like, I would try to be like very positive and just try to like do the opposite of what his dad was doing, right?
Right.
So as of, their breakup, he's been more in communication with me.
Now, bringing it back to my question of what, from the ages of 3 to 26, you said it correct. What are some things that you wish that you had with your father that you wouldn't want your son to miss out on with his father right now?
I feel like I wish so if it could have been that way, right? I wish that I would have had a father that showed me discipline, held me, held my hand, kissed on me, right? Like how you are with your daughter. Like, when I see you with your daughter, I'm like, that's how a father needs to love his daughter, because the way you love your daughter is the way she's gonna.
Damn, hold on. You trying to get me on camera. Woo! Trying to get me on camera. Yo, you talking to my daughter, it gets emotional. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So the way you are with your daughter, and this is why I'm so glad that like you have DADAcation going. The way you are with your daughter, you kiss on her, you love her, like the way you hold her. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was seeing the way you guys were at the beach, right? You being this amazing father to her, she's not gonna have issues that I had. Straight up, she's not.
Damn, you trying to get me.
She's not going to turn to the wrong type of man. First of all, to give you your flowers, you're a hardworking man. You're present in her life. You want to be in her life. You're not dodging and, you're not ditching and dodging her. So anything that steps to her in those other type of manners is going to be foreign to her. You see what I'm saying? So I applaud you for what you're doing. I applaud you to continue to be strong and like provide for her and, love on her, because once again, if somebody steps to her that has not been that way, she's gonna be like, yo, like that's toxic. That's something that I'm not used to. That's foreign to me, right? Unlike me, I seen trauma. I grew up with, I always somehow attracted the hood boys, right? Guns, drugs, violence, abuse, cheating. That's what I dealt with, right? And so the beautiful thing about it is that, like, you know, God has protected me out of all those situations, as he will always protect his children, right? He'll protect the abandoned, the widowed, you know? So I know my purpose here is not to just do credit, right? My purpose is to talk to people that have been in abuse, right? People who have been emotionally and mentally abused as well. Because a lot of people ask me, okay, they're like, you've been in a physical relationship or a physical abusive relationship, but how was your ex-husband? Like, why did you guys not work? Because people ask me that all the time. What happened with the divorce? And I'm like, well, with my ex-husband, he was more mentally and emotionally abusive to me. He told me after I had the baby, like, so I have a scar right here, right? Because I had a C-section. He was like, that kangaroo pouch is ugly. He would just say stuff, right? Like that would like tear me down and beat me down. And I literally, he was like, you're fat. Like your face is getting fatter. Like, why aren't you wearing makeup? Like, why aren't you doing your hair? And I'm like, I just had a baby. Like, I literally just had a baby. And when you have a C-section, like, it takes time to heal. So I wasn't doing my hair because he was used to seeing me all done up, because I was a hairstylist, makeup up, and that's how I always look. And I felt like I always have to look this way because that's what people see me as. But it really is a mask, right? Putting on my makeup is a mask. I mean, now I understand, like, you know, I do it for me because I choose to do it and I want to do it. And if I want to wear these fake lashes, I'm going to wear these fake lashes. And if I want to wear some hair extensions, I'm going to wear my hair extensions.
Absolutely.
You feel me? But at the end of the day, he was mentally abusive to me. And that, I feel like it stung a little bit deeper than the physical part. So to go back to your question of how, if I would have had my dad in my life, like how would I want him to be? I would have wanted him to show me love. I would have wanted him to encourage me, to discipline me. And when I say discipline, like, you know, he was in the military, so he was pretty disciplined, you know, for the most part, until he got into, you know, his stuff. But show me how to be on time. Mm. Show me that, you know, you can't run over people, right? Because that was something that I was doing. And I'm always late. I'm always late to everything, straight up. Like, I will miss a flight because I'm always running late, like a crazy woman. So I wish, like, but once again, that's my mom as well. My mom's late to everything. So, on another note, I was always very tomboyish when I was little. I was always the one that was like boxing people. I was fighting people. I used to box. And I used to always be the one to put stuff together. Like, I was like the handyman of, like, I was like the, I guess you could say like the handyman of the family, even though I was a female. But I had a lot of masculine energy somewhere along the lines.
Right. So kind of like, like you said earlier, you had your dad traits, but you're not, without you even knowing.
Without even knowing.
Just tap into that question again. What would that change be like for you, for your son, at this time, that you would like to see his father, have his father in his life?
Yeah. So what I would like to see, because I feel like he has a good father. Caleb has a good dad, minus all the BS of how he has treated me. I feel like now where we're at, I feel like I just want Caleb to be able to see that his father respects his mother and his mother respects his father. Even though it didn't work out, we're not going to be in the same household, I want him to know that mommy and daddy are cool. Because one thing I also heard when I was going through therapy, the therapist was like, did you know that if you speak bad about the other parent to your son, he's going to fall into some type of depression or he's going to resent you, one or the other? And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, think about it. If one parent is speaking bad about the other parent, that child knows he's half of you, half of the other parent. And I was like, that's deep.
Wow.
From that session on, I never spoke bad about his dad again to him. It was nothing but positivity. And so I say that to say that what I want Caleb to see now is that his mother and his father are cordial. They're cool. They respect each other, because he's still young enough where even though he's been through some stuff, I feel like he's still young enough to make the turn to know that, like, okay, I got to respect my mom, I got to respect my dad, but I want to also respect them even though they're not a couple anymore. I also want to know and see that they can engage with each other. So that,
very important,
God forbid in the future, if he ever, knock on wood, I hope he will never get a divorce, but say he ever does, he'll be like, you know what? This might be a little familiar, but my mom and my dad are cordial. I'm going to be able to be cordial with my ex-wife.
Wow, that's deep. You say that. First of all, I'd like to applaud you on the fact that you brought up that you're doing it so that your son sees that the cordialness between the both of you, aka co-parenting.
Co-parenting.
And also too, I'd like to give you the flowers of where you actually mentioned about you put your differences aside to focus on what the child will need, and what the child is pursuing and everything that he's taking in. A lot of people don't like to own up to that, or give that some attention, that you have to put those things aside, and it's what the child is going to be dealing with.
Yeah, man. It ain't about us no more.
It's
like,
not
we had our
about us.
childhood already.
Right.
We had our childhood. And if you got messed up from it, sorry to cut you off. If you got messed up from it, work on fixing it.
Right.
Like, there's no excuse anymore out here for you not, there's no excuse at all with everything that's going on, with all the like people tapping into like fixing themselves. Like, there's no excuse anymore. Like, you can't play the victim anymore. I played the victim for too long, but it ain't about me no more. It ain't about Emmanuel no more, which is Caleb's dad.
It's not about
It's
the
about the
relationship no more
child.
neither.
It ain't. It's all about the child, because these children are going to be the future.
Right.
Are we going to create them to be more toxic than what we were? Because you got two toxic people, so 1 + 1 = 2, right? And you got a little one here, so now you got 3 people that are toxic in the world
And
that needs
continue it.
love and healing.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I get all passionate and stuff.
No, but that's that's what it's about.
Right.
So we just literally talked about the whole fatherhood issue and then the child.
Right.
And put it in one piece, and in one understanding. And you kind of literally just broke down everything from your situation with your father to your ex having, not having a father, then, your ex and the divorce, of how you put your differences aside, start focusing on the child, like all those little things. I mean, there's a lot of times people say like it takes years for it to finish. If you don't mind me asking, how long did your situation take for you guys to actually come to that realization, like, hey, this, let's put this to an end and let's focus on the child?
Actually, so how long did it take is your question? That from like,
you guys came to realize that.
Yeah.
That realization.
So it literally just it happened from about 3 years ago. So it took about 3 years, because it literally just 2 weeks ago took place with me and my ex, to where I reached out to him, and I actually reached out to him because I spoke to his mom, and his mom was like, I'm a little worried about him. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, I could just tell he's not there. And I know my ex-husband. Like, I know he has suffered from some like dark depression days. Because when we were married, I was, he had his stuff too, and I was there to support him, but I seen it. So when she mentioned it, and the fact that I know that his girlfriend literally just moved out and took all the furniture, because Caleb told me, or his ex-fiance took all the furniture, I know he's sitting in that house in a dark place. So when his mom reached out to me and told me, because I actually care for this individual, like his actual well-being, I'm not in love with him no more, I will never be with him again. But the fact that that's Caleb's dad, and the fact that I know he's not in a good mental place, I reached out to him. And I was like, Emmanuel, I don't want to be all in your business, but I just want to let you know that you're loved, you have a son, and whatever it is that you're going through, you're going to get through it. I was like, and remember, we're your family still. Like, I'm going to be around forever. Caleb's going to be around forever. We're family. Like, straight up.
That's maturity.
And he was like listening to me. And I was surprised he was listening to me because once again, he ain't been a person that's communicated with me. But he was listening. And I was like, so you don't have to respond back. I was like, I know, I don't even want to know what happened. It ain't none of my business, but just know that you're loved. Just know that you have a son that needs you here, right? And I was like, and we need you at that jiu-jitsu tournament. I was like, so pull it together. And he laughed. And when he laughed, I was like, I knew like there was a part of me that was like, he needed this call.
All right, so we're gonna get deep here because we spoke about this. Gabby and I had this conversation. So it gets to a point where people, female
right.
don't like helping or giving men don't get that words of encouragement, that love, everything that is besides, like, it's always like men are just looked at for one thing,
right.
And it takes a lot out of someone to just go and give those type of words, but truly deep down inside, those words, just alone knowing that we are cared for, we are loved, helps us a lot. And especially with it being men's mental health awareness month, these are things that I like to hear, and things that people should hear more of, like and just giving those that encourage, like, you know what I mean?
You guys are human too. We're females. What is that? What's the difference? And let me just remind you really quick. God created Adam before he created Eve. He created Eve from Adam's rib. So, okay, we get it that, okay, men are supposed to be strong. Men are supposed to be the providers. Men are supposed to be this, but men are human beings as well. They got feelings. Like, you guys have feelings, right? Your mother, when she cared for you, she was holding you, right? She rocked you. Or some people breastfeed, but she nurtured you. Women nurture their children, whether it's a male or whether it's a female. So you need to be loved. Males need to be loved. How are they supposed to love their sons, or how are they supposed to love their wives if they're not loved? Like, how are you supposed to transfer that energy or that type of realm of love if you're not even loved?
Right. And then I think that stems down to when men aren't getting that love, right? I think it stems down to, especially with all the trauma and everything boiling down to, I think that's what transferred down to men not being able to be passionate towards their partners.
Right.
That's
actually a very good topic.
Like, half, because they're not used to getting any of that, especially too after, even after a whole breakup,
right.
In other situations, like, they were never loved from, let's say, their other partner. Right. So they don't know how to extend that love. It's just, you're always being put down, and, especially seeing what men go through, sad to say it, but being raised by single mothers, and you know, the whole fashion between, let's say the whole co-parenting,
situation.
You know, the bad co-parenting situation. They just always see bad. Like, it's always just a man going through it. Like, so the moral of the story is what
a lot of women bash men,
right?
So they don't give them,
and then it creates that generational thing where men are just gonna keep being damaged, now looked at as good, always looked at as, you know, a bad figure, and okay, you're just gonna grow up to do this, provide, and you just have to do that. There's no equality there, especially with the whole system put into place. So just real quick to because we get to the end, just real quick, just two last questions that I usually ask everybody. In your case, we're gonna focus more on the healing as well. What are some tips that you can give, let's say, I'm gonna be very specific with yours.
Sure.
Because of your past. What are some general tips you can give a daughter that didn't have a father figure in their life, whether it be for healing or how to overcome a situation like you did?
So for a female that grew up with no father, I would definitely say, on a healing note, try to put yourself in your father's situation. And it may sound kind of like hard to do, but when I met my father, when I seen a lot of me in him, or a lot of him in me, however you want to, you know, I put myself in his shoes. And I'm like, the reason why he always was on drugs, or he was, you know, turn into, you know, whatever it was, like any type of vice, is because he was masking his pain. So what I would say to a young girl is that put yourself in the shoes of the missing parent. Try to come in and understand the foundation of what happened. So say a young girl was raised by her mom, some moms will bash the dad. But I would say, look at it on the flip side. Without your mother's opinion of your father, try to get down to the nitty gritty and figure out, why did your dad leave? Was there substance abuse? Did he leave because, you know, maybe he found another woman? Like, try to find the foundation of why he is not present and try to understand, minus the other parent's opinion on it. That's something that I would advise.
Wow, I like that.
That's something I would advise.
Wow, that's dope.
Thank you.
And then my last question, before we wrap this up, my last question would be, what are tips or advice that you would give? You just came to a conclusion where you guys could finally co-parent.
Right.
What are some things that you would give people out there to come to that, to decrease the years? You know, we have people that have 3 years, 5 years, 6 years. What are some things you can help people kind of decrease in the years and finally get to that co-parenting status at a quicker rate?
Yeah. So what I would recommend, because it's worked for me, obviously it took 3 years to get there, but I would definitely recommend that you put your feelings aside, you put your emotions aside, because clearly it didn't get you nowhere. If you're still in the same place today, or even in a worse place than you were from the beginning, clearly your way's not working. So maybe you should try something else. Maybe you should try humbling yourself, putting your pride to the side. Pride is such a big thing. Pride is powerful. Pride will tear your family down. Pride will tear your business down. Pride will tear a lot of things down. So I would say put your pride to the side It's not about you anymore. It's not about him anymore. It's about the child. So if you can do those things and just humble yourself and mentally just be like, you know what, I'm gonna let it go. Like, I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna try to not turn up. I'm gonna try not to nitpick. I'm not gonna try to start searching for things with a microscope so I can have something like one more up on him. Then one, you're gonna save yourself a lot of energy. Two, you're gonna save yourself from health issues. Because a lot of people don't know this, but when you hang on to anger, if you hang on to any of that, that's gonna eat you up and maybe even give you cancer.
Wow.
So I would say put all those things aside. Just sometimes just let it go. Just like be at peace with it. And whatever is gonna happen is gonna happen. And I would also say pray for that person. Because I prayed for Emmanuel, and as much as he was stabbing me with like, I'm gonna call the cops. I'm calling the attorney again. Like, I'm gonna say that you know, just lying on me and all this stuff. As much as I did not want to do that, you have to pray for them.
I like that you said that because I actually do that. I pray.
Because God's gonna work. It's gonna work, and I'm confident about that. Because those 3 years of all that drama that I was going through, like, whew, I thought I was gonna lose it.
And
I'm always on eggshells.
You also left out one thing.
What?
You said you're gonna save a lot of time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Missed out, you're gonna save a lot of money.
And a lot of money. Because let me tell you,
fees.
them attorney fees, $33,000 later.
That $33,000 could have went to your son.
To a savings account. And me and my ex-husband just literally spoke about that a couple days ago. I was like, so he had an attorney, I had an attorney, and it was always a battle, custody battle. And guess what? The system's eating it all up.
And you know who always wins at the end? The attorney and the system.
So you're
That's
gonna save
the
a
real
lot
winners.
of money. Yeah. And they ain't tripping because they know it's gonna be 50-50. At the end of the day, it's gonna be 50-50. No matter how much you call her this, you call her that, whatever you guys pay us, we're just getting paid. So Emmanuel, when I talked to him a couple days ago, he was like, man, all this money we spent on attorneys. I was like, who you telling? And he was like, that could have went into Caleb's savings account. And then he told me, he was like, you know what, Monica? Thank you for taking me off of child support. And I was like, you're welcome. And he was like, let me know if you and Caleb need anything. I've never heard him say that.
Welcome to co-parenting.
God is good. God is good.
Look, I'm gonna wrap it right there at a great end note right there. Welcome to co-parenting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's huge, right?
Yeah.
And
it
sucks that we have to say congratulations for something like that. That should have been since day one, but that's a huge victory.
It is a victory.
For your son.
For my son.
Not for you, not for him, for your son.
For my son.
So once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing
having
the story.
the show. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely.
It's been awesome.
Absolutely.
So
there you guys
you.
have it. Monica. Stay tuned. This is DADAcation. Thank you guys for watching.